Tonight, as the Democratic Socialists pick up a string of victories across the country, a new party platform from a progressive group is becoming fodder for GOP attacks. 99 days from the midterms, Democrats are facing a reckoning. Disavow and disown the Democratic Socialists of America, or embrace policy positions like these endorsed by the DSA's co-chair.
Okay, so we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay, replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That seems like a problem for Democrats, that this is sort of the competing force in their own party.
Yeah, I think that's a huge problem. I don't agree with any of those statements. I don't think a majority of Democrats agree with those statements. I think we have a lot of great candidates running across the country, some that are veterans and some that are from the moderate side of the party. These are views that are, I think, represented by a very small amount of individuals that are not representative of the Democratic Party at large, and I personally do not.
What's up, family? Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those post notifications because we're going to break this down, look at the different perspectives, and then I'll give my thoughts. Now, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm about to show you because this is one of those moments where somebody went on national television and told the truth about what they really believe. And when that happens, it changes everything. So the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, their national co-chair went on Fox News Sunday, and the host Shannon Brehm did something simple. She put the DSA's actual platform on the screen and asked for a yes or no, true or false. No word salad, no spin, no let me explain what I really meant, just yes or no. And what happened next should terrify anybody who believes in this country because Shannon Brehm said abolish the Senate. The DSA co-chair said true, as you heard. She said replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we know them. She said yep. She said abolish ICE. She said absolutely. She said abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally. And she said that's a long-term plan. Yep. She said defund the Pentagon. She said absolutely. She said abolish prisons, at least in large part. She said yeah. She said government or public ownership or of most large corporations. She said yeah, absolutely. Now, I repeated and reiterated what she said because if you sit with that for a second, every single one of those answers came with zero hesitation, no flinching, no backtracking, no, well, let me clarify. Straight up, just the woman looked into the camera, said yes to abolishing the United States Senate, yes to getting rid of the presidency and the Supreme Court as we know them, yes to abolishing ICE, yes to open borders, yes to defunding the military, yes to emptying the prisons, and yes to government taking over private companies. She said all of that with a smile. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because after this clip started circulating, you saw the panic set in. Because the mainstream media and the Democratic establishment have been trying to tell you that these are fringe views, that this is a small faction, or only a small amount of people who believe in these things. That the DSA doesn't represent the party. But the problem is the DSA is winning elections. If you look at New York with Zohran Mamdani, who's the New York mayor currently. So they're running as Democrats and they're getting endorsed by Democratic leaders. And when their co-chair goes on national TV and admits wanting to tear down the entire structure of American government and they hate the Constitution as we know it, you can't pretend that's a small group anymore. So think about it like this. Imagine your family's at a cookout, right? Somebody shows up and saying they want to burn the house down. And the people who own the house say, well, that's just Uncle Bob. He doesn't speak for all of us. But then Uncle Bob keeps showing up and he keeps getting invited. And eventually he's the one deciding what's for dinner. And at some point you can't say he doesn't speak for the family anymore because the family keeps letting him speak. And that's exactly what's happening with the Democratic Party right now. You have Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, all these establishment Democrats who are too scared to stand up and say, this is not what we believe. These people are not welcome in our party. Why? Because they need the votes. They need the energy. And I'm going to be quite frank, because I've been trying to be as discreet, but I'm going to be straight up blunt with you. If you do not vote, and if you do not vote and you allow these people to get control, I'm gonna tell you right now, this whole country, it's just gonna be straight up. This shit is this straight up demonic. I'm gonna tell you right now, this shit is demonic. I don't know how else to put it. So if you don't want to vote, and you want somebody to be elected that don't want prisons no more, and they want people to roam, and they want borders to be open and let anybody come in the country illegally, and anybody who's here is already illegally, they want to legalize them and make them a legal citizen, you should be scared for your family, your children, and yourself. And I'm not trying to fearmonger, because I'm not a big person or a big on fearmongering people, but I'm just keeping it real. Because it's going to be literally survival to the finish. And individuals are going to have to start protecting themselves to the point where they're going to have to actually maybe exercise their right to carry to protect themselves, because they don't want prisons. So if you don't vote and you allow these individuals to get control, because you're starting with New York, that's already the Big Apple. That's the biggest city, one of the biggest cities in this country. And you don't think they see that as a motivation to continue to creep in and basically take over and get rid of the Constitution. They want to remove presidency. They want to remove the Supreme Court. And they want to keep only one branch, basically, of the 4 branches of government, because they don't want the president no more. They want to get rid of that. They want to get rid of the military. They don't want to defend this country no more. So you won't have nobody in the service or military fighting to protect this country. So what the hell are we doing? So at the end of the day, are we really going to be a country anymore? So you're going to be overtaken. That's what they're inviting. And this is what happens when you don't have individuals who uphold Western civilization culture, in this case, American culture, who come in with their own ideologies from different culture. This is why you can't go off of feelings and ideology, because you don't stand for nothing. Then you remix things based on how you feel. And then once things get so far left where ideology is not even realistic no more, delusion takes place, and now the country is taken over. And now everybody is fighting for themselves and fending for themselves. So the Democrat Party that used to be with women's rights and protecting, democracy, or what is a democracy, and what is protecting women's rights, and what is protecting anybody's rights at this point. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, everything's gonna be up in a frenzy. And individuals that come with their ideologies like Shira Law and come from different parts of the country and bringing their ideologies and entitlement to this country and changing it, because that's what's happening. And they're bringing their demonic ways instead of respecting our country like we respect theirs, where they came from, whether that's Somalia or whatever they came from. They're bringing that Shira Law and all those other things here, and they're trying to implement them there, but they're working their way through the process by winning these elections and telling you what you want to hear, and you're a fool that keep voting or not voting at all, and then you wonder why when it comes to your doorstep, then you want to start panicking. So I'm gonna just tell you right now, this is why I do what I do. I do these videos because the simple fact is I used to be ignorant and not used to see how embedded this is until I had a child. And I'm just being real with you, because when I'm no longer here, these laws that I vote for now are either going to help or hurt him. And if you don't have children, it's going to hurt you. So give you an example. People want to vote for free busing over there in New York, but you don't got no damn free bus. And now he's talking about opening up government grocery stores. Well, if government grocery stores, mind you, he already done spent $1 million, $2 million, $2 billion, whatever. $2 million, $2 billion already in New York, and he's only been a year in office. The mayor of New York is Zohran Mudami. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, she don't got enough courage or balls to stand up to him, because she don't want to make the individuals who believe in them, which are happen to be a younger generation like myself that want free stuff instead of working for things. She don't want to piss them off because she wants to get reelected. So she's in between a rock and a hard place. But this is what happens when you don't serve the people and you're so busy worrying about power and benefiting yourself and being selfish. You can't do both. So now she's either going to be overtaken or she's going to have to go along to get along to stay in office because the governor really controls the money. So why are you letting the state of New York drive out corporations' jobs? And the simple fact is, you are the governor controlling the money and y'all already in a deficit. Meaning he already spent $1 million to $1 billion already only 1 year in as a mayor. And you think that's going to get any better? And then the other day he mentioned opening up 3 government grocery stores, and then he already mentioned one that's going to take like 3 years to build. So if you don't have no money coming in for these grocery stores to stock them up, who the hell is going to be paying for them to be stocked up? That's why socialism don't work. So if there's no jobs and individuals they're not coming out of taxes are not coming out of their check, and then the cost of living is so high and you're just spending, where's the money coming in to actually either balance the budget or justify the simple fact of even you being able to do these things in the first place? Because where are you going to get the money come from? That's why it don't work. So now those who can't get out, who are struggling, are going to be stuck there struggling more, and they're saying it in the name of helping you, but really they're wrapping around help in the name of just creating programs to control you more while they continue to push this demonic stuff. Now, I don't went off script because I'm just keeping it real. So, with that being said, going back on script, when you look at these establishment Democrats who are scared to stand up, because they need votes, they need the energy, they need the activist base that the DSA controls, the Democratic Socialists of America movement that starts with Zohran Mamdani, the mayor currently of New York, and they think they can use these people to win elections and then figure out the rest later. But here's the thing about letting a monster grow. It doesn't stop growing. It doesn't stay small because you're comfortable with it. It keeps eating and it keeps getting bigger, and eventually it turns around and eats you. That's what's happening right now. So you got Joe Scarborough, which we'll get into his clip in a minute. Even someone like him on Morning Joe is begging Democrats to speak truth to their most extreme base. But guess what? Their most extreme base are young people who don't want to work for nothing. That's why they thought they were going to get free busing and free housing. And I'll tell you another thing about free housing. They're giving it to you as free housing. But as soon as you don't abide by whatever ideology they have, they'll take it away. What they giveth, they can take away. That's why if you work for something and you actually own something, you can't take it away from you. But if somebody gives you something, they have the power over you to take it away from you. So that doesn't mean, and that's also showing their actions, because you would be a fool to think if they gave you free busing, they didn't give you free busing, why would they sit there and give you free housing? The play is to sit there and basically push out the landlords and make these little violations to basically run the landlords out, using the state to control the housing and give them to who they want if they fall in line to keep them in power. Ignorance in the name of free, right? But see, you can fool young people because their frontal lobe isn't fully developed yet. So they're not thinking logically about this shit, and they don't have no actual consequence for their actions or nothing bigger than them. And I'm not saying it as a way of comparing me or saying that I don't, because at the end of the day, it's still going to hurt them. So it is something bigger than them, like their future, but they don't see it that way because they're focused short term on the now. But see, I have an extra layer where I'm so passionate about this stuff because I have a child that's bigger than me that's going to be affected by these policies. So this is why I do what I do, because it affects all of us as a country. We're either going to be on the right side of history or on the wrong side of history. But I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just telling you the truth. Because the truth, I don't have to continue to justify it because it'll speak for itself. Now, for the mainstream media and the Democrats that were telling you lies, and now they're so scared because the lies catch up to them now that the bill is due and they're getting overthrown in their seats and power and control, and they don't know what to do and they're panicking and franticking because now the simple fact is they were so busy focused on staying in power. Now that power is turning back on them to now where you have so much greed and people was doing whatever they wanted to do and thinking they were going along to get along to stay in power. And you got one person that comes in and say, forget that. I want to make my own movement, and I want to take over this old stuff, and we're going to make a different movement. So then the movements keep happening, but you don't have no foundation because everybody just wanting what they want. But you're supposed to be a public official serving the people. Because the problem was they were never serving the people to begin with. Because if you were serving the people, the results would speak for itself based on what actual individuals need, and you wouldn't have to cheat to do it. You won't have to use dead people that are not even here to vote. I'm just saying. You want me to give you another example? Look at New Jersey. 6,600 non-citizens voted. She admits it, and then she turns around the other day and turns around and say, well, I am not going to disclose the names of those illegals to the federal government in the name of empowerment. So you say there's something wrong with the system, you're going to fix it, but then you don't want to turn over individuals who are in the country illegally. So what side are you on? It's a joke. It's power. That's what it is. So what I'm saying is, speaking to the Democrats and speaking to this, because it's for you to be supporting a Democrat at this point, you got to be like, this is a demonic party. I don't know how you can be a Christian. I don't know how you can be a believer or just being a good, kind person just in general if you don't believe and think you're just going to support this party. When recently, I don't know if you've seen what Governor J.B. Pritzker and you see what California, they are taking away parenting rights and they're giving 11, 12-year-old little girls that just happened to pass yesterday with Chicago and Governor J.B. Pritzker. And now they're able to basically not have to get consent from their parents when it comes to birth control, IUDs, or anything when it comes to their whole health situation, right? But at the end of the day, they're still a minor. But then basically you're empowering them to, I could do what I want with my body when I want to do it. But that the simple fact is they're not grown enough to handle the responsibility that may come with that. So what I look at that as and see, and some people may say, oh, well, that's good because they could be on birth control, blah, 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 blah. Well, the simple fact is their body is still developing. And some people say, well, this is creepish. Why is a governor worrying about making sure that a child voices over an adult voice, their parent? Well, I'll say is because they want to promote degeneracy. And if you create enough chaos, you could profit off of that. Same thing when you go to war as a country. You're not going to war for nothing. You're going to war for power. And when war is happening, people are making money in the midst of war. When scarcity is happening and stuff get rough, the rich that sit there and stack their money to the side, waiting for that right time to come in and swoop in strategically for that investment, while people can't afford their houses or going in foreclosure, they swoop right in and they buy it as a property and they use it as real estate and they rent it out and they profit. That's why you watch for those who sit there and panic and flee and get rid of their assets in regards that are actually beneficial to them because they're so desperate. So when you become desperate, you make short-term decisions and not long-term ones. And then it affects you in the long run when you have somebody that's actually maybe not smarter than you, but just know strategically when a lot of people panic, I wait patiently. Because if everybody's panicking, that's a bad time to make a decision because everybody's emotional. So now you're following other individuals in a flock of sheep, following what they do because based on your emotions, you're panicking. See, I like what Warren Buffett said in regards to that. And I know I'm going off script, but I think this is important. And I'm going to sit there and give value because I don't sit here and just say things in a vacuum for no reason because it's a purpose why I'm saying it. And I know what I'm talking about. And the simple fact is, if I'm wrong, just let me know in the comments because this is a conversation. But Warren Buffett basically said, when it comes to investing, now we all know Warren Buffett connected to Coca-Cola. So he said, to be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy only when others are fearful. Desperation clouds your judgment. Simple as that. You start making financial or life mistakes, big ones. So when you look at that, when people are fearful and greedy, they start getting up everything out of desperation. You wait, because as soon as they get so greedy, they just start getting everything based off emotion. You chew on more than you could bite. And the same thing. when you rush, you get more than you could chew off or bite, whatever you want to say. So patient wins is the point. And you can't rely on others to calm your nerves or if something happens, right? So it's basically about strategically or financially borrowing money or using credit card debt which creates financial desperation. That was his whole concept. But I'm saying all that to say that people wait until times of desperation when you don't have to if you just educate yourself so you don't make ignorant decisions. Now, with that being said, we all mess up. We all, do what we do. But at the end of the day, you have to get the life wisdom and continue to be better every single day. And it doesn't matter because we all just trying to figure it out. Now, when you look at it, right, because Democrats, Morning Joe want to be begging Democrats to speak truth to their most extreme base in the Democrat Party. And he's warning them that if they don't define themselves, Donald Trump and the Republicans will define them. Well, you don't have to Donald Trump don't have to define anybody because it's self-explanatory. I just broke it down to you. So the real problem is even bigger than that because the socialists are defining the Democrat Party and they are the ones with the energy. And they are the ones winning primaries and they are the ones forcing the party further and further left. Right? So look at the proof on the screen. There's a Senate race in Michigan right now. You got a candidate named Abdul El Sayed running as a Democrat. He's a socialist. He's trying to run away from the label, but he's a socialist. And the Republican Mike Rogers is holding a double-digit lead over him. Meanwhile, a moderate Democrat in that same state is running tied with the Republican. That tells you everything you need to know because when Democrats run socialists in swing states, they lose. When they run normal people, they compete. But the party is so captured by the far left that they keep nominating these radicals anyway. It's not a strategy. It's a suicide mission. And then they're doing it because they convince themselves that the only way to beat Trump is to be more extreme than Trump. But that's not how it works. Most Americans don't want to abolish the Senate. Most Americans don't want open borders. You done seen lives taken away when open borders and illegals was here. You done seen Venezuelan gangs take over apartment complexes from open borders with Kamala Harris, who was assigned to uphold the border, in which she didn't. That's why she never refutes it. So most Americans don't want to defund the military and empty the prisons. And most Americans want safe streets, a secure border, and a functioning government in a country that's still here tomorrow. Mind you, we got teen takeovers. That's already enough right now throughout the country. So these are not controversial positions. They're common sense, but the Democratic Party has moved so far left that common sense now sounds like a radical position.
Democrats versus Republicans. We went through why Trump is unpopular on a whole host of issues. But the other reporting that we got this weekend was that the DNC is struggling. They are millions of dollars in debt. They are they're so short on cash that they've asked their vendors not to bother to send bills until after the midterm elections. They have put a loan out on their headquarters to try to fund last year.
That's what happened when you got Kamala Harris over here paying Cardi B and everybody else to shake their behind instead of actually using it to campaign for something. So now the Democratic Party, when it's so much debt pushing Kamala Harris in 2024, that now they don't even know how to balance the money or the budget within their own party when it comes to pushing their candidates to run for Senate or for presidency. So if they can't balance their own budget with a party, how they gonna manage the damn country? I'm just asking a question.
Off-year elections, not to mention any spending that they need to do this year. So they're not exactly in a strong position to lead the party in this moment, which actually could cause Democrats to take a really good year for them and maybe squander it.
Yeah, that's very fair. And I think that's maybe why they're so reluctant to disavow some of these really extreme radical policies, like getting rid of prisons and opening the borders again, as we saw under Biden. And this is the thing. So look, Zoran Mamdani, you mentioned Zoran Mamdani earlier, and you said, great, can I talk for a second? So look, Zoran Mamdani, who you want to be part of this Democratic Party, who Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, everyone has seemed to embrace. Yeah, he watched the World Cup at Rikers. He wants to get rid of prisons. He wants to abolish private property. This is literally the most radical.
When did he ever say that, Lydia?
He wants government-run
Rikers
You just lied.
Jail, not
I did not like. Can I speak for 2 seconds? I'm not here to answer to you. Okay,
You just made the claim.
Can I speak for 2 seconds? This is
When did he ever say he?
You're not going to let you speak because the simple fact is you're speaking with too much sense. So he got to respond with emotions because the simple fact is he can't refute what you're saying.
to get rid of prisons. You made a
That's
direct
part of
claim.
his platform.
When did
That's
he ever
literally
say
part
that?
of his platform.
When did he say
He's
that?
part of the DSA.
When
I
did
can
he
point
say
you
that?
to the website after. I'm
He
happy
never
to
said
show you
that. One time
the
you just
point
lied
is this.
on air.
Oh my lord. Okay, I'm
Lydia,
happy to point you
That's a
to the
lie.
It's just a
website.
simple question. Has he actually said that?
That's literally part of his platform.
Where?
On
Where?
his website.
Was that on his
He wants
mayoral
government-run grocery stores. This is
No.
literally.
When did he say about getting rid of
My
prisons?
point is that you have a candidate like Zoran
He never
Mamdani,
said
who is
that.
Except for
incredibly
Rikers, which
radical.
he said he
who
consistently
the
wanted to get rid of.
Democratic Party is thrilled to embrace because, yeah, the alternative
Lydia, you
is.
just lied.
Well, okay, let's.
Oh
let him
my
finish.
lord! Can you stop interrupting me
Go
for
ahead,
like
just
3
go ahead and
seconds?
finish your thought.
The point is, this is the new mantle bearer. This is why they were thrilled to embrace Graham Plattner, despite the fact that he had a Nazi
Another
tattoo.
thing.
There is no energy apart from these people. And the more conventional Democrats, like a Chuck Schumer, are scared to stand up and call out any of these radical extremist policies.
Well, I think Chuck
one
Schumer
thing I will
endorsed
say is
against Graham Plattner.
Zoran
He
Mamdani
endorsed
did
Janet
launch
Mills.
his
So he
government
didn't endorse Graham Plattner.
run
Bernie Sanders.
grocery stores
But you said Chuck
today. It's controversial. They're going to be offering some groceries at a 30% discount off of regular commercial groceries. That probably will be popular with some New Yorkers, but it's not going to help, Democrats beat the socialism allegations, maybe the communism allegations that Republicans are going to lodge against them.
Just earlier this week, we heard that there was some kind of a Zoom call in which you had referenced an opponent as ogre on a pike. And so many people took offense to that. And it really pointed to the bigger question about the tone and tenor that you've been accused of having in this campaign. Do you regret any of the comments that you've made? And do you think that this race could take a more productive and a more substantive tone if we kept those personal slams out?
Look, I took to Twitter last week and said that the tone in which people talk about my opponent is unkind, and I asked anybody who supported me to not talk about her that way. In fact, when she got booed on the stage at the Michigan Democratic Party convention, I called her personally and said that that was unkind. My supporters had nothing to do with it, but I don't think that that's the way we want to do politics. I was referring to a guy named John Fetterman, who's a senator from Pennsylvania, who has done terrible things.
Why are you worrying about Pennsylvania when you're running for Senate in Michigan? Dude, look, he already playing games and antics.
Elected on a set of values and is now completely throwing those values in the mud.
Senator, you can comment on that.
He's mentioning John Fetterman because he's a threat to basically exposing their falsehoods or typical politician antics of saying one thing and doing another. That's why he mentioning a whole senator in Pennsylvania instead of focusing on him running in Michigan as a senator. That's the only way you would be mentioning somebody in a whole different state.
The Michigan individual, I didn't even understand what that meant, ogre on a pike. I think you've kind of embraced the whole Shrek analogy, you kind of laugh at that. But I think what he was saying was that they need to make an example out of you, that a Democrat who was elected as a Democrat shouldn't be able to say the things you're saying because you were supposedly elected with Democrat values that you need to stick to.
Yeah, because they don't want that. That tells you the answer why Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries aren't saying anything. They don't want no middle ground, moderate, common sense Democrat. They want far left. They don't want common sense. Democrats used to be back then a common sense party who actually used to support the working people. Now they have went so far left because all they care about power and enriching themselves to stay in positions, and they don't care even at the cost of letting illegals in here to gain votes or cheat. So it used to be for the people, it's no longer for the people. So the simple fact is now you have John Fetterman, who's a senator in Pennsylvania, who a lot of people like to joke about him having a stroke, but that may be unfortunately through his situation. Thank God he's okay, but that may have been an epiphany for and a realization to realize what was going on or what's going on within his party. So just through trial and tribulations, through challenges and health scares or any type of challenge in your life, that can be a realization to wake the hell up. And I believe that was John Fetterman's through his stroke, unfortunately, that woke him the hell up and exposed the demons to the party in which he is part of, that he no longer represents, and calls out the nonsense for how the party is so far demonic that he's not rocking with it. He's a middle ground, common sense Democrat. He's old school. They don't want no damn old school individual who actually have common sense policies and actually speak with some sense, even though it's another party. I mean, even though it's part of the party and it's another party as in the Democrats. They don't want common sense at all. They want to tell you what you want to hear, and if you don't disagree, you don't agree with them. If you disagree, then you're the problem. So since he doesn't agree with their typical far left ideologies, because he's more middle ground common sense, like the meet in the middle common ground old school guy, even likes to a certain extent to compromise. They're not trying to compromise at all. It's either you get on board or you get the hell out the way, and they'll run you over. And that's where the state of the Democrat Party is. And he's just a guy that they feel as though we need to get rid of him. And they try to call him an ogre in the name of a Shrek analogy when it comes to the Disney movie. But the reality is you could throw names of personal ad hominem attacks, but they never refuted that anything he was saying was not true or common sense in the first place for the people.
But since when did some of these Democrat values include some of the things you just talked about? So I don't even understand the point that this gentleman was making.
Yeah, I mean, I never worked out in male modeling, yeah, I mean, call me Senator Shrek, whatever, but this guy is really the Pontiac Platner, and now he's really running to be the head of our emerging pro-Hamas wing here in the party. So for me, politically, some of the things that he said or done are unacceptable to me. I'm not really sure what I've really done or voted for that has offended the little guy so much, but overall, right now, this is a serious game that we're engaging in, and these same people like Bernie Sanders and other people created the Platner disaster. He was asked just this Sunday. He has no regrets. Yeah, I have no regrets supporting an accused rapist. I have no regrets supporting a guy with a Nazi tattoo on his chest and a guy that roughed up his ex-girlfriends. There's a level of arrogance, and they feel like they have some weird mandate, and I'll stop this now, call it out. And that's what I'm willing to do as a committed Democrat. So I think that's pretty reasonable, and I think it's more necessary if more people's willing to do that.
I think John Fetterman should just be a Republican. I think he should switch over. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is Joe Burrow on Morning Joe, basically begging the Democrats to define themselves. As I was saying, this is the last clip I want to show you guys, and then I'll wrap up. But yeah.
I had a ton to talk to him about, but I just got to start with something that was all over social media and the news yesterday. And before we got all the big events in Washington across the world, I wanted to show everybody a notable clip from one of the Sunday shows. The national co-chair for the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, was on Fox News Sunday, and here was one of her exchanges with host Shannon Breen.
Okay, so we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay, replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Democrats. Let those with ears hear. Maya Angelou said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. People know themselves much better than you do, and well, what's true of people is also true of political parties. And as you just saw, the national co-chair of the DSA went on television and showed us exactly who she is and what her party believes. Abolish the U.S. Senate, the presidency as we know it, the Supreme Court as we know it? True. Abolish ICE? Absolutely. Open the borders? Defund the Pentagon? Empty the prisons? Have the government seize private companies? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All questions answered with complete conviction. And all those responses completely disqualifying for a party that likes to tell people they're really just about health care and tax reform. I have no problem with the debate. Barack Obama might say that a party that stops debating the big issues with itself stops growing. But there's a difference between pushing your party to be better and asking it to abandon every single thing that makes it worth belonging to in 2026. Remember how the Democrats pushed back against the lawlessness of January 6th and the attempt to overthrow the election, how they rose up and fought back against Americans and immigrants being gunned down in American streets, and they did it to defend the basic American values and the Constitution. And as far as defense goes, JFK promised America would pay any price, bear any burden to assure the survival and the success of liberty. LBJ passed the most sweeping civil rights legislation in history. That's a party worth fighting for. Bill Clinton balanced the budget 4 years in a row. Nobody's done that in over 100 years.
Yeah, he balanced the budget by simply selling off the auto manufacturing business and basically selling off our car industry brands, or I should say our car factories, to China in exchange for money. And the simple fact is we got cheaper cars, cheaper parts, and everything else, where the simple fact is we actually was the hub of auto manufacturing. So I look at Bill Clinton or the Clintons as a sellout. I'm just being honest. He's talking about balancing the budget. Yeah, he balanced the budget. Anybody can get a loan and then get money and feel like they balanced everything that they wanted to balance when it comes to the money. But did you actually use the money that you had coming in as a thriving economy and actually budget it with what you had? Because what you have is all that you need if you know how to work it. So you selling off the auto manufacturing business, which is an industry with factories and jobs, and giving them away to other countries in exchange for money and taking away American jobs, is not balancing no damn budget.
And Barack Obama, he created the Affordable Care Act and expanded health care coverage to record levels. You know,
Yeah, expanded healthcare coverage that actually end up raising the premiums for individuals that actually pay for healthcare coverage, where the simple fact is that now healthcare coverage is so damn high because you got so many people on it for free in the name of affordable healthcare, that I don't know what the hell is up with this affordable free stuff, because at the end of the day, I go off the principle, if you don't work, you don't eat. So if you don't work and you don't eat, then what makes you think that the simple fact is when it comes to paying the bill when it's due, that somebody's just going to give you the money? Or somebody's going to see, I'm all for helping, but you also got to help yourself. But just sitting there just saying affordable and trying to make something affordable where actually you're putting illegals and individuals on it that are actually getting free healthcare, and hard-working individuals can't even get a leg up when they do need it because they work in a job that doesn't pay more to even get on that affordable healthcare, when they have something to work with, like a budget where it's not just all being given to them, where they're actually on a plan or whatever the case may be that you could work with, and the money is still earnestly being paid for. So you can't sit there and just make something affordable in the name of affordability and just give it out for free, is my point. Because all you're doing is you're making it like it's affordable healthcare, but then you're kicking the can down the aisle, because affordable healthcare is going to raise the cost of living, because you have people on it that are not doing nothing, and you don't get nothing for free. You have to do something with yourself and then prove that you want to do something with yourself before you just get help. And if you do get something for free or temporarily, you have to show proof that you're at least trying to help yourself. So you can't just keep getting everything affordable in the name of free and then making it as though, oh, that was the best affordable healthcare when actually healthcare was cheaper. Well, if his thing was working so phenomenally in the name of Barack Hussein Obama, then why is healthcare so high now? Because the simple fact is, what happened in yesteryear is we're suffering for the consequences and the actions and the policies that passed from back then are currently taking effect now in the long term. It sounds good until it takes place 10 years down the line plus. So it was never affordable. It just gave power instead of to the people, the working class people that was supposed to be affordable for. It just actually gave more leverage for the insurance companies and the hospitals to charge what they want, because you as a working class individual apparently don't got it. So in the name of affordability, We are covering it, aka the federal government, which know the health insurance and the hospitals know, and the healthcare industries, they know, okay, well, this individual don't got it. The government got it in the name of affordability, so we're gonna charge what we want. So if it's gonna be affordable, at least work with a payment plan or some type of somebody's income that at least trying to take care of themselves, you think? Instead of and make it affordable that way instead of just giving it out? Because it's backwards if you really look at it. People that work can't get affordable health care, but their health care in the name of not so affordability is high as hell. But if you don't work, you get affordable health care, which is free health care. That don't make no damn sense.
Added 20 million Americans to the insured rolls. And Joe Biden fought back against the corrupt anti-democracy forces that still infect Donald Trump's Republican Party. But being that party defends democracy, also demands condemning a party that calls to abolish the U.S. Senate, the House, the presidency, and the Supreme Court. Wants to release...
Wow. And a party that was so amazing did all those great things, and how it get to this?
Murderers and rapists from jail. I mean, one candidate was asked by the New York Times 3 times, do you support letting murderers out of jail? She wouldn't even answer. A party that zeroes out spending on defending America's borders, defending America overseas, defending America at home, takes police officers out of our children's schools and off our streets, and erases America's borders? Come on. Democrats have always believed you can love your country while pushing it toward being that more perfect union. And you can do that without wanting to burn it to the ground. If Democrats want to make America more affordable, more fair, and more free, and I think they do, they better speak truth to its most extreme base, or they're going...
That includes you too, Joe, because you haven't spoken no truth. You actually spoke on the brink of it to now where it's so far left that you're so scared because you're scared now because it's going to come at your front doorstep. Too late now. You've been speaking this propaganda. You said Joe Biden was so phenomenal where the borders of it not being secure happened during Joe Biden, and you just praised him. So you look like a lie in the name of affordability. American people, a lot of people are saying don't even believe that y'all actually want things affordable at this time because y'all just look like straight liars based on what's happening with the party. So here's the real kicker, family, because I'm tired of hearing his nonsensical nonsense. You got Democrats running around talking about how they're the party that defends democracy. Really? We're the same party that told Joe Biden he couldn't run and then installed Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is talking about running again in 2028. So this is the same party that did the same thing to Graham Plattner. Nobody voted for that replacement. That's not democracy. That's oligarchy, right? Same thing Bernie Sanders said. We're going to fight the oligarchy. Well, they are the party of the oligarchy. They basically blame what they are. They project onto the other party what they are. And I'm not defending the Democrats or Republicans. I'm just speaking in regards of this happen to be Democrats where I'm holding them accountable because this is crazy. And the same way I would hold the Republicans accountable. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to spew something that you say you don't represent, but your actions are showing different that you do represent it, then you're a liar. It's hypocrisy in itself. And American people see through that. So you want to talk about defending democratic values with the co-chair? While their co-chair says she wants to abolish the Supreme Court, which is the judicial branch, they talk about protecting the Constitution while their platform calls for tearing down the entire system of government that Constitution created. You can't be the party of democracy when you're in bed with people who will burn it all down. So at some point, you have to stand for something. And right now, the only thing the Democratic Party stands for is being against Donald Trump. And that's not a platform. That's not a vision. That's a tantrum, and it's not working. So what's the takeaway here? What are we supposed to learn from all of this, you may ask? The lesson is simple. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them, just like he said. Maya Angelou said that, right? And it's true for people, and it's true for political parties. I agree. So the DSA co-chair went on television, told you exactly what she believes. She wants to abolish the Senate, the presidency, the Supreme Court, ICE, borders, prisons, the Pentagon, and she wants the government to own companies, corporations. It's not a secret. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's her saying that out loud with her own mouth. And the Democratic Party can either disavow her and her entire movement, or they can own it, but they can't keep pretending she doesn't speak for them. while also accepting her votes, her donations, and her activists. Can't have it both ways, and you either stand for the Constitution or you stand for the people who want to tear it up. And right now, the silence from the Democratic leadership is the loudest answer of all. Now, I'm going to leave you with this because this verse in the Bible, Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3, says, "A prudent man foresees danger and takes refuge, but the simple keep going and suffer the consequences." And that's what we're watching in real time. The danger is right there in front of everybody. The American people, everybody. So when the midterms come this November and people don't vote and you get what you want, you get whatever the outcome is, I don't want to hear it. So the DSA co-chair spelled it out on Fox News. She told you exactly what she wants to do. The question is whether people are paying attention, whether they see the danger and take cover, or whether they keep going and keep pretending it's not serious and keep thinking it'll work itself out and then suffer the consequences. And for those who aren't spiritual, here's the same lesson in plain English. When a person or a group tells you what they're going to do, believe them the first time and don't wait for the second warning. And don't wait for the third time because the first time is enough, and the DSA co-chair gave you the first time on national television. She showed you who she is. She showed you what her party wants. Now it's up to you to decide what you're going to do about it. So let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, spread that peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate, family. I hope you guys got some value from this. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up. As always, we just having a conversation. I'll catch you next one on that note, family. Peace.